and welcome to The Big Picture. I'm Tina Jha. As the second wave of COVID-19 continues unabated in the country, inducing lockdowns in many parts of the country, the Finance Ministry said on Friday that it has posed a downside risk to economic activity in the first quarter of this financial year, although it added the damage will not be as severe as was seen during the first wave of the pandemic last year. In its monthly economic report, the Finance Ministry said the fiscal position of the central government has witnessed an improvement in recent months with a revival in economic activities during the second half of financial year 2020-21. So as per provisional figures, net direct tax collections for 2020-21 are 4.5% higher than revised estimates and 5% higher than collections in 2019-20. Also, GST mop-up registered a good growth and collections exceeded 1 lakh crore rupees in each of the last 6 months owing to economic recovery. GST revenue registered another record high of 1.41 lakh crore rupees in the month of April, another indicative of continual economic recovery. That's what the Finance Ministry's report said. However, the report did note that the second wave of the pandemic hit the market sentiment, as both Nifty 50 and the S&P BSE Sensex recorded losses of 0.4% and 1.5% respectively in the month of April, and the rupee depreciated by 2.3% in the same period. The domestic financial conditions nevertheless continue to remain comfortable with RBI support to liquidity, with open market operations worth 3.17 lakh crore rupees carried out in 2020-21 as per the Finance Ministry's report. So on this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze with two of our experts the Finance Ministry's report and the impact of the second wave on the economy. Joining me are two distinguished panelists. Let me first introduce them to you. I have with me on The Big Picture today Mr. Yadavendra Mathur, former Special Secretary Niti Aayog, and Mr. Siddharth, National Economic Editor, Times of India. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on The Big Picture today. Mr. Mathur, allow me to begin the program with you. Your views first on the Finance Ministry's report. Of course, it's a very good indication that the impact they're saying this time will not be as severe as it was last year. But is the pressure, as the surge continues, is the pressure on the economy rising because more and more states are now announcing stricter curbs?
Yes, I think it is a very fair assessment that the impact of the second wave at the macro level has still not been kind of gauged. And the high frequency indicators also appear very encouraging. If you see the overall, the fourth quarter was a marked improvement over the preceding 2 quarters of the last financial year. But having said that, the sharp deterioration in the sentiment as well as the credit offtake, particularly by the SME sector, not being as robust as it could have been, I think that is a cause of worry and concern. But it is still very early to kind of quantify that and bring it in a figure. But very rightly not imposing a national lockdown and leaving it to the micro containment and to the state governments to calibrate so that economic activity does not come to a grinding halt, impacting the poor, the marginalized. So I think though it is extremely concerning, the second wave, and our nation has never gone through such a, I will use the word, a scared, population. But having said that, I still feel that the macro fundamentals are so well managed that we should not be worried, but tackle this problem head on, do the testing, do the vaccination, and do the containment, and this too shall pass.
Absolutely. So how we can blunt the impact is something that I'll come back to you and discuss in the course of the program. But Mr. Siddharth, coming to you. So the overall impact may be milder compared to last year, according to the Finance Ministry. But does it threaten to derail the little economic gains towards recovery that we have made in recent months, about which the report also talks?
Yes, it certainly does. So just to come back to the report, if you compare with last year, there are two differences. One, you are growing over whatever the economic activity you measure will be on a much smaller base, and smaller by about 25%. So if the size of the economy in the first quarter of 2019 was 100, the size of the economy in the first quarter of 2020-21, which is the last financial year, was actually 76 if you go by the 24% fall. So whatever growth you see, even if it's a 20% growth, it will be over 76. So you will still be short of that 100 that you saw in April, June 2019, number one. Number two, unlike last time, one of the reasons why it could be blunted is that unlike last time when everything stopped in one go across the country, this time it's happened in phases. So it was Maharashtra, for instance, which was the first to shut down while the rest of the country was still open. And by the time case load comes down in Maharashtra, there would be, and it probably reopens after a few weeks, there would be other parts of the country which would be closed. So you will have a situation where the entire country is not closed this time in one go. So that will also, that will also kind of give you a better picture. But growth this time, if you look at it, will be a bit of an optical illusion. If you look at the initial numbers that have come, you have numbers on power consumption, which in April was 40% higher, 40% over what? 40% higher than a much reduced base. You have exports, which have almost trebled from where? From $10 billion, which is, less than, much lower than half or maybe 30% of what your potential exports are. So, these numbers that you look at YOY, year-on-year calculations are all optical illusions, if I could use that word. A better way to look at the economy at this point of time would be month on month. So you would actually be able to see, whether you're better off or worse off than the previous month. And of course, you have to seasonally adjust that, which is difficult on a month-on-month calculation.
Absolutely. Mr. Mathur, the concern at the moment is, and what Mr. Siddharth rightly points out, the concern at the moment, we are going through this unprecedented crisis. The states, despite imposing stricter curbs, have not been able to contain the spread. The surge we are seeing is just the numbers are going up day by day. There could be, or the experts in fact are also suggesting that a national lockdown is something that could help India tide over this crisis or to get over the peak of the second wave. Will an already battered economy by the first wave of the pandemic be able to absorb that kind of shock once again?
Now, I do agree that there is this suggestion for a national lockdown to really break. But if you see the size of the problem and the nature of the pandemic, it has swept Maharashtra, came to the central government, central India, and now moving east. So I think we should go by the experts' advice. And though anecdotally, every quarter has every person has an opinion, but I'm sure that the experts more than ever are now being brought into these decision making, in a sense that what will it take for the chain of transmission to be broken. And I think the way the state governments are moving, they are very aware, they're far better prepared now than they were earlier. And you see Maharashtra has successfully brought it down. The figures are appearing encouraging. And there is a lot to learn from this strategy also, rather than that one big freezing of the whole country. I don't think that would be the right answer. It's large chunks of populations which have to be, curtailed. But one size fit all, I would not agree with that.
Okay, and what about the other risks, Mr. Siddharth, like consumer confidence? Because what we are seeing is, as the cases are continuing to rise, the consumer sentiments definitely have turned negative, and this is a long-term impact.
Well, consumer sentiment is definitely low. There are two factors for that. One is the general optimism is down because there is it's like the expectation of the expectation from the consumer is low at the moment. They are also worried more about their family's safety and their health There are families across India which have been hit by this second wave. People have lost lives. People have faced very severe infection. Incomes have been hit. There are a lot of people whose salaries may or may not come, especially in the services sector because of these restrictions. Construction workers, there's sectors where activity has stopped. So, it's not just sentiment, but also the fact that income is impacted. And no one knows how long this is going to continue. So people are already, suggesting that if we don't act properly and in time, there could be a third wave. So, all these things are weighing in. Having said that, the good news is that agriculture, by all accounts, is going to do well. You're going to have a good monsoon again this year. So to that extent, as and when things stabilize, which should be month and a half, whatever, you will see demand come back. There will be some pent-up demand. There will be, some demand which would be more seasonal. Some would be, So that is a good positive sign. And as we saw last year, it does take time to come back. But we are a resilient country, so we will hopefully bounce back. Maybe if not in the first quarter, certainly by the second quarter, end of second quarter, whenever.
Absolutely, we're all hopeful to it.
Infection, sorry.
But how worrying is the rising inflation, Mr. Siddharth? Can that also upset growth?
Well, a lot of the inflation is linked to food and partly to commodity prices, which are a risk at the moment. Certainly, oil prices are going up. The government has to do a fine balancing act between its revenue collections and, on fuel, for instance, between its revenue collections and, price management, because, this is also a time when government finances are going to be hit because economic activity has stopped, tax payment will be lower. Consumption has been hit because of the lockdown. So your GST collections are bound to be lower in terms of, how much you can optimize through various other things such as checking evasion, etc. is going to hold the key. But yes, inflation management will be a challenge. And RBI has already flagged its concerns on certain segments of food, for instance. You can see edible oil, pulses, those prices have gone up. And but yeah, the good news is that monsoon is going to be normal, so hopefully food inflation will remain under control.
Yes. Mr. Mathur, also the RBI earlier this week announced a slew of measures which includes a 50,000 crore rupees term liquidity facility and several other measures as well, which include restructuring of the loans as well. How timely and promising do these measures look in terms of tackling this unprecedented rise, this unprecedented surge of the second wave?
No, absolutely. I think the RBI's consistent efforts to maintain adequate liquidity support and the open market operations that you mentioned, I think this has been really fine-tuning the availability and the flexibility in the banking system. And I think the going forward with a long-term yield curve trajectory also being plotted out, the stage is well set for additional liquidity to be injected, particularly through the small finance banks, SMEs, and the NBFC sector. I think that is where a little more push needs to come so that last mile flow, particularly to the SMEs where the credit offtake has not been good, that should be addressed. If you see the results analyzed of these mid-cap companies, 213 companies, their profitabilities have really gone up. And the softening of the interest rates has actually, very positively helped the corporate sector, and they're showing very encouraging results, those results which have come out. So I do see a slight skew more towards the mid-caps and mid-sized companies, but more effort needs to be done through the banking system and getting in more credit to flow through the NBFC. And that is where the pinch should not be felt, particularly when default rates may increase in the month of April, May, June, this quarter. So I think that is where we need to be careful And like my colleague said, the agriculture sector credit offtake is good. And I think we need to continue to see that the procurement by government for additional, I think they are targeting already 10% higher procurement, so that the demand from the rural areas is robust. And I think that engine has to really fire in spite of this third wave anticipated sometime in the next 3 to 6 months. In spite of that kind of scare, I think the aggregate demand in the economy should be kept up. That is very critical.
If you talk about the government measures, the last time around, after the kind of impact that it had on the economy, there was this massive stimulus package. What can we expect from the government this time around? Because it has to be proactive. We cannot wait for the impact to first happen and then expect measures. So what is it that the government can do or is doing to contain the impact or to lessen the impact of the second wave on the economy?
Yes, I think the state governments have been given additional flexibility to to spend on capital projects and to recycle their assets, asset monetize, do disinvestment even by the state governments. So I think the government of India is very aware that the special assistance to states for capital expenditure is where more heavy lifting has to be done. And I think once the state governments are able to find the resources, which they presently claim that they do not have the resources for incurring capex, but that capex is so critical to overall, really boost the aggregate demand and see that the core sectors of the economy, cement, steel, electricity, those sectors get supported. So I think we are poised at a critical time when not having a national lockdown as a strategy should be really considered by people, that why is that needed, so that we are able to still allow the economic engine to keep humming. Because the hurt, if the economy kind of freezes and we get into a state of of free fall when inflation can suddenly spiral up. So I think it is a very tricky time, and this is when a national consensus around the economic indicators and what should be the best steps to be taken is so very critical.
Absolutely, Mr. Siddharth. So looking at the current crisis that we are in, we are amid a raging second wave of the pandemic. A third wave is being anticipated. We are being cautioned against. To blunt the economic impact of this pandemic, what looks like the best stimulus, apart from vaccination, of course, because that is something that the Finance Ministry has also said is the key to curbing the pandemic. But if we talk about other measures, what should they be?
I think what the government is doing at the moment is addressing the immediate concerns. So, in terms of reducing customs duties, IGST, on, things like concentrators, oxygen, etc., easing the compliance burden. So to that extent, we are in the initial phase of the national lockdown of last year, what we saw in March end or early April last year. And if you remember, it was only after unlock was announced that the government announced the first set of measures. So my expectation is that even this time they are still analyzing, what is the extent of damage and what are the steps required would be clearer once the immediate challenge of dealing with the high level of infection is addressed. Having said that, if we go by past experience, the RBI had announced a series of steps, so they've made a beginning, and the governor has clearly said that going forward there could be more steps. So that is on the RBI side and on the monetary policy side, and there has always been a monetary as well as a fiscal step. Like last time we saw a series, both the center and the RBI work together. So this time again, I think capex will be a huge focus, which was already announced in the budget. So you would see probably, maybe if resources permit, more aggressive spending on capital expenditure, on asset creation, which has its advantages in terms of, as Mr. Mathur was saying, in terms of creating demand for cement, steel, and even creating jobs. Similarly, the other focus area is bound to be on MSMEs. Because you are seeing that, we saw a lot of damage to that sector during the last lockdown, and things like that emergency credit line facility did help them overcome the challenge. So this time again, this is the second time in a year that, it's a sector which is working on very thin margins, doesn't have deep pockets. So that is a sector which will require work. And I think we are bound to see more investment going towards healthcare, because what this pandemic has shown is that as a country, we don't have the infrastructure, the required level of infrastructure to, cope with it. So I think that is a sector which requires urgent attention. Over the years, governments have been talking about it, but I think the government realizes that it is time that they invest in, testing in terms of hospital and other equipment, to have that cushion for later years.
Absolutely. Mr. Mathur, one final comment from you, because extraordinary situations demand extraordinary steps. We are in that kind of an unprecedented crisis at the moment. So best way ahead, keeping both things in mind, curbing the pandemic as well as sustained economic recovery, because we can't let our economy be devastated once again as it was last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to be cognizant that these are uncharted, new, terrible times, to say the least. And I think we all need to just be aware that we keep our cool, and at every level, whether it is at the institutional level, at the level of the small firm, at the level of the family, we can. This is tough, but we can and we will, abide by this. We need to just reach out with a helping hand, see that in your immediate vicinity, jobs are not lost and there is succor provided. A lot of the NGOs and you see the civil society organizations have really kicked in a big way. I think that is again one big effort that at the national level is not being kind of tracked and factored in. That national effort by the civil society organizations is very, very crucial. It has kicked in, and I can see that will be going forward for the next 6 to 9 months. The civil society needs all this support and encouragement.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that there have been shortcomings, and we need to urgently address all of those shortcomings in the near future. But at the same time, it's very, very important, as in fact, both our panelists have suggested, to remain optimistic. We are all in this together. We have done it in the past. We are resilient, and we should be able to tide over this crisis this time as well. So with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you once again to both my guests for joining me on the program, sharing your thoughts with us and our viewers. Pleasure having you on the program. Take care of yourselves and your families. To my viewers as well, I once again want to remind you to make an appeal to all of you. We are going through a very difficult crisis. Stay at home if you can, but if you step outside, make sure you are masked up. Experts suggest wear double masks if possible. Keep washing your hands regularly and maintain physical distancing. These are basic precautions that we need to keep in mind whenever we step outside our house. These are basic precautions which will help us and our families keep away from the infection. So take care of yourselves and your families, and thank you very much for your time.